Yo, how's it going, everybody? First off, I just want to say, sorry I haven't been posting. I've just been dealing with some stuff. I won't go into all that, but I do have some good news for everybody who's gotten tired of Smurfs and stacking and just everything in ranked. That is kind of just ruining a bit of the experience for the Mecha Break players. All right, before we cover everything with Smurfing and stacking, I want to point out the fact that we're getting a new custom striker and pilot with Welkin. And this is actually pretty interesting. This is the first character I've seen that seems to have some sort of prosthetic android Mecha Musume style legs. At least it appears that way at first glance. Now, I'm briefly skipping over everything with the smurfing and stacking just for a split second because I know a lot of us have been waiting for the Morena to be added to Mashmak. It is a restricted area extreme boss that is got some kind of scorpion looking features to it. Apparently this is going to be a lot more centered around fighting around the environment. So I'm excited to see how this actually pans out and what kind of fight we'll be getting. They're actually talking about possibly extending the duration of time that is allowed for the Morenas. So it seems like they have something interesting in store for us at the very least. But moving on to the stacking and the smurfing. Now, for this next part, I do want to say that this isn't coming at anybody or trying to throw shade in anyone's direction. This is something that we all had a bit of a part in, and I just want to kind of briefly cover the situation. Now, I'm not saying this is the sole reason the game is having issues. There are other things that definitely need to be addressed, but I can definitely say that I know people personally, and I know friends of friends who basically dropped the game altogether because they were tired of dealing with the stacks and the smurfs. There are a number of factors as to why this is hurting the scene, ranging from diminished returns on wins because you're fighting someone that is smurfing, losing way more points than you ever deserve to for the same reason, going against well-established stacks that just basically wipe the floor with you because you don't have a single person communicating within your squad, all sorts of things that just led to a frustrating experience that thankfully is finally being addressed. Moving forward in the next update, 4 and 5 player queues are actually going to be temporarily disabled altogether, prioritizing the solo players with other solo players, which is just something we've been asking for a while now. In addition to this, if you are in a squad of 2 to 3, you will now be prioritized to find other squads of 2 to 3 to be matched with and against. Now, another change that's being implemented to try and make the matchmaking system more fair is they're making it to where you cannot have too big of a gap between your ranking system within your own squad. While we don't know the exact details right now, what this basically means is that like a champion player could not squad up with like a gold player. Originally, back in the open beta test, this is how it was. You just couldn't squad up with someone who was way higher than you or way lower than you. But for the sake of an open beta, they did away with this so you could just squad up with your friends, play, give it feedback, you know, just what you'd expect from an open beta. However, this just was never re-established when the game finally launched. Season 0 didn't have it, Season 1 we haven't had it this entire time. Because this was never re-established, players would often go and make stacks of 3 or 4 players before finding someone on a Smurf account to drag down the matchmaking system and get them players of a lower ELO. For example, let's say you're in Champion or Legendary or something, you're going up against a squad and you see that on their enemy team, they have like a Bronze player or a Silver player despite the fact that everybody else is in Champion, General, something, right? Now, because of the difference in ranks between you and this player, you would receive a much harsher penalty to your score if you lost this match. So something that would normally be 15-20 points off your score would be closer to 40-45 if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, if you win against this team, you're not getting that much either. It felt like there was no winning because every time you climbed, it was such a little amount, but every time you lost, you fell so far. So I really hope that this is something that's here to stay because they have said and here that this is kind of a test to see how things go in the future. But yeah, it has caused issues. It has made so many people quit. It has made it to where people don't enjoy the game as they should be. Now, before we cover the last few things, I did want to go over the change to executions because this is actually pretty significant and has some merit to how it can be used tactfully. So before, just doing an execution would leave you completely exposed, but now it's actually going to generate a Corite haze that refills both your energy and your fluid armor. So similar to a Stego haze, but it's going to be giving you energy back as well. Now, this actually is pretty crazy because before, like, you were basically just doing it to rage bait or to just to flex, right? Now you can actually have some pretty good, like, let's say you do this on a point somewhere where like that can actually help out your team. That could be significant. The other thing that's nice too is, I know I've done this a few times. I know others have as well. Right here, or this one, oh, right here. Executions now have a dedicated customizable hotkey separate from the interaction key. Now this will be great for all those moments where you're on objective, you just wipe someone out, you think you're taking objective, But instead, suddenly, the enemy's dead striker's head is in the hand of your falcon, and you're eating a bunch of bullets. Now, as for the last final bit of changes, there's kind of the stuff that we'd expect, balancing to the strikers, all that yada yada, right? But there is one significant thing that I've been begging for since the open betas. We finally have the ability to increase our inventory space. I don't know why it was this difficult to implement this, why it took this long. But we finally have the ability to increase our inventory space. And the best part is, it looks like it's going to be done with our Matrix credits. We're not going to have to spend Core. I mean, unless I'm reading this wrong or something changes between then and now, we should be good to just, yeah. Now, that is all the news that we have for today, and while I am glad to see that some of these changes are finally happening, I do have to point out that some of these feel a bit overdue. There needs to be a little bit more communication and a little bit more transparency so we can feel comfortable knowing that they are actually taking care of these things. There has just been no insight as to whether or not these issues are being looked into, if they actually hear us. It is a little frustrating, I will admit. I really do love this game. It's one of the best, if not the best, mech experiences I've ever played. But there are some things that still need to be addressed, so I'm going to be making a follow-up video, this time for real, where I kind of go over the current state of the game, different things that I think need to be changed, feedback I have, community feedback as well, and just kind of go over what I think would be the right direction to take the game to keep it in a healthy state and allow it to be more marketable for the casual and PvE crowd as well as the PvP crowd without taking away from any of the current systems that are implemented. Outside of that, just want to say again, I'm sorry I fell off the face of the earth. I'm going to try to get back into the schedule of posting a couple matches every week as well as posting something a little bit more significant on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. But outside of that, just again, thank you for being so patient with me. Thank you to everyone who comes out on Twitch, on YouTube. I apologize again for disappearing semi-frequently. I just love this brain of mine. But anywho, y'all have a wonderful day, whatever time it may be where you're at. Take care now. Peace.